Hey everyone, welcome to Snakepit USA. I'm Coach John Potenza, and today we're going to be going through our Journeyman Level 1 DVD. There's a lot of techniques on this series, so please take your time going through them. We're going to cover everything from stand-up positioning, grip control, takedowns, ground control, and submissions. So please take your time going through it all. If you have any questions or concerns, you can email us direct through snakepitusa.com, and we'll be happy to get back to you and help you out with it. And we look forward to seeing you on the mat.
Hi everyone, I'm Coach Journeyman, and the first thing we're going to focus on today is your movement from a neutral position. When I talk about a neutral position, I'm talking about your stand-up positioning. When you start out in your wrestling matches, MMA, grappling, it doesn't matter. You're always going to start from that standing position, and the first thing we're going to focus on is your stance. When I talk about stance, I'm talking about the position of your body and your body parts. Typically, in amateur wrestling, more and more nowadays, what you're seeing is this leaning forward, like this. And if that's working for you, we're not trying to fix something that's not broken. But we want to give you different options and show you the old way of doing things to kind of get you on track with the Real Catch Wrestling program. So now, what we're going to do is get into our basic stance. I start off in a relaxed stance. I'm going to put my feet shoulder width apart. My next step is going to come back about the length of my foot. So my toe ends up on the same distance here as my heel on the other side. I'm going to get my hips nice and low by bending my knees, my elbows come in, and I'm kind of like a Tyrannosaurus Rex. My butt's out, my head is up, and I'm ready. This is your wrestling position. My head is not past my toes, I'm not leaning forward, getting ready to snap down. My weight is evenly distributed between my legs, so if I need to pick up one leg, I'm here, pick up the other leg, I'm here, okay? If I get a wide stance like this, my weight is going to be on one leg or the other. If I need to get off this leg, I have to transfer and push off, and I'm off balance. Same thing with the back leg, it's going to be hard to sprawl and move. So, again, we start here, I get shoulder width, my foot comes back to my heel, my elbows are in tight to my body. This is going to shut down that inside control you guys are going to try and get. My elbows are tight, my hands are open, my head's up, my butt's out, my chest is up, and I'm ready to wrestle. Now when we get into movement, what we're talking about here is the way you approach your opponent or aggressor. One thing that's really important to understand is we never want to cross our feet. And when I talk about crossing your feet, a lot of guys misunderstand this and they think that doing this is the only way of crossing your feet. And that's not true. Because if I come in like this on you, I'm crossing my feet, the same thing as this. There is no difference. Somebody's going to take on that front leg as soon as you put your weight on it. So what we're going to focus on right now is just stepping and sliding and moving around. Every time I step, I'm going to step with the leg closest to the direction that I'm moving. So we're going to focus on just going forward, backward, left, and right. And you'll notice my steps aren't terribly big. I don't want to overextend myself and get back to the stance of this, where I'm having to push off to readjust my center of gravity and my weight balance here. So I'm here, I got a good nice stance here, my elbows are in, my head's up. First I'm going to go forward. I step, slide, step, slide, step, slide. Going back, same thing. Step, slide, step, slide, step, slide. Going left, step, slide, step, slide. Going right, step, slide, step, slide. Okay? And that's your basic movement that we're going to get into here for a lot of stuff. One of the most important things we want to talk about when we're talking about movement in wrestling is a pivot. And a pivot is an old school movement that's kind of been lost through time. It's very fundamentally sound and very effective for a lot of good takedowns that we're going to do. So when I'm talking about pivoting, what I'm talking about is getting to our stance, getting a good center of gravity, I'm balanced well, my head's up, my elbows are in, my butt's out, and when I step, what I'm doing here is I'm making a T on that first step. When I make a T, I'm going to pivot around 180 degrees. So moving left, taking my right foot, I'm here, 1, 2. Doing the same thing going back, 1, 2. And that's your basic pivoting right there. The most important thing that we want to add to the pivot itself is corkscrewing down. Now, the purpose of corkscrewing is once we've gotten the opponent's leg shifted, our weight shifted to one leg with our pivot, the corkscrew is going to finish them down to the ground. And it's just like driving a screw into the ground. So what I'm doing, I've got a good stance here, my elbows are in, my head's up, my butt's out. I take that first step here, I come around, and I'm coming down. If you notice, I'm bending at the waist only, and I'm coming to here. So the weight of the opponent's been put on one leg, I keep twisting and twisting and twisting, and I have nowhere else to go but down. So one more time. Come here, I have a good stance, my feet are in a good position, my elbows are in tight, my head's up, my butt's out, I step, and corkscrew. And it's that simple. One of the things you're going to hear me talk about a lot today is angles. And the two angles you're going to hear me say a lot are 90 degrees and 45 degrees. The reason I say that a lot is most of your takedowns and things that we're going to hit in your breakdowns, your tilts and wrestling techniques are going to be at an angle of 45 degrees. The human body moves really well 90 degrees, straight forward and back and side to side, but not so hot, 45 and 45. And you guys may be really familiar with that, but maybe some of you aren't, so we're going to talk about it anyways. When I say 90 degrees, I'm talking about a perfect cross, straight ahead. The reason, what angle that your opponent is faced or moving is always going to be 90 degrees back and forward. Their shoulders parallel is going to be 90 degrees as well. You put an X straight over top of that cross, and you've got your 45s. So it's always going to be this way, and that way, for all the takedowns that we're going to work today, and for all the wrestling. Moving on from the neutral position, we want to talk about the tie-up position. And anytime when we mention tie-up position, that means your hands are on your opponent. You don't want your opponent's hands necessarily on you. That's why we go through all the grip fighting in the next area. When I come in on my opponent and I secure wrist control, I'm always getting as low as I can on the wrist and as close to the hand as I can. There's a natural groove right there, right off the hand. You'll feel it, grab your body, you grab yourself, you feel that soft spot right there. That's where you're going to get the best leverage on your grips. There's three things I want to introduce you guys to on wrist control that's really important. And the first one is actually pushing the arm towards your opponent. When I push, I'm stepping, again, 45 degrees. So I'm pinning the wrist to his body or pushing it to his body. The second one is pulling away. So if I'm here this side and I pull the arm away, that enables me to come in here and open up the gap. The third one we're going to look at is getting on the wrist and pulling it down. So I'm pulling it this way, this way, this way. Now if I throw in a C-step or I come in here quick to the side, I'm on this ankle for an ankle pick and other attacks. So basically we're introducing you to wrist control. The only two things we're going to focus on at this point is getting on that wrist, controlling it, grip fighting and maintaining control, and working that clench in your tie-up position. The second thing we want to look at in the tie-up position in your Journeyman 1 level is your collar grip, and it's very important. When I come in here on Coach Potenza and I secure this wrist grip, typically I'm going to need some other type of tie-up control. So when I come in, let's start with the basic one of a collar grip. It's important to understand, when I put my hand on here, I don't want it hanging off the side over here and weak. I want to get all the way around the neck and hook. And if you notice it turns his head a little bit, I'm hooking the neck and creating as much of a hook here as I can, like a fishing hook, around his neck. So I'm here, I get deep on the neck and pull. And it turns his head a little bit. Real easy from here to come around and turn in for the next thing we're going to talk about, which is head position. One other thing I want to talk about real quick on this is getting to the ear. So first of all, we have the collar, and I'm putting down here, twisting a little bit, getting deep with a nice hook. The second one a lot of guys will do is we'll go to the ear. So if I go to the ear, same thing, and twist, it's going to turn his head also. Make it easy for me to come in. That's your collar grip. Another thing I want to focus on from your tie-up position is getting into your head position. And really your head position is the most important part of your tie-up. It's going to control your opponent, it's going to give you your 45 degrees, it's going to help you steer them the way you want to go, and it's going to help you control the tie-up position, which is what we always want to be doing. So when I come in here, I'm Coach Potenza, I'm securing wrist control, I come in for my collar. If you look right now, I'm pretty much 90 degrees on. I want to switch that to get a good head position. So my head touches, I step, and now I'm 45 degrees. If you look what I'm doing, I'm going to get a deep hook on this, and I'm going to turn my head in. Now I can switch a little bit further to 90 degrees, but I want to make sure that I switch from 90 back to 45 for my takedown when I start to drive. Okay? So again, I come in, wrist control, coming hard collar, circling here. I want to control this tie with my head position, so I'm going to get a good collar grip. I step 45. I'm going to pull down, and I'm taking my forehead, and I'm putting it right in his temporal lobe, right by his ear, the corner spot up here. So I get here, pull, and now I'm controlling. I can switch to 90, switch back to 45, come in for my takedown. That's your fundamentals of head position. Now we're going to move into grip fighting techniques, and these are the basic old school methods that we're going to look at first. in Journeyman level 1. So I'm here with Brandon, and the first thing we're going to do is the same side grip. So Brandon comes in nice and low on my wrist. He's got control of me. What I'm really focusing on is putting my fingers on the same side as his thumb. That's where he's weakest. So what I'm doing is I'm coming here, my fingers versus his thumb. My fingers win. I come in control. What I'm doing is turning my hand, my cutting bone. And when I say cutting bone, what I'm talking about is the thumb side of the forearm and the pinky side. They can be just as devastating on either side. And you're going to hear that mentioned a lot, I'm sure, throughout our video series. So Brandon has same side control. My hand comes in, fingers, same side as the thumb. I secure a nice low grip here, turn my cutting bone towards the opening of his hand. When I turn it, my elbow drops, rotates out like I'm taking a drink. My hand comes on, positive control, and I'm resting. Okay? Now if he goes cross side grip, like this, again, where the thumb is where my fingers go. So I'm coming across here as low as I can and securing that grip. From here, I turn my cutting bone out with my thumb, like that, rotate it out, take a drink, come on, and I'm resting. All right, so one more time, let's go through it, same side, same side. So we start here, I come over, my fingers, same side as his thumb, I secure grip, turn my cutting bone out, rotate my elbow down, taking a drink, grab the wrist, or resting. Cross side, his thumb's on the outside now, so now I know my fingers need to be on the outside. I come across, secure grip, I turn the cutting bone out, drop my elbow, I'm taking a drink, change grips, and we're resting. The next grip fighting technique we want to hit on real quick is your 2-on-1. So if Brandon comes in and he secures a 2-on-1 on my same wrist, what I'm going to do is, again, using my cutting bone, I'm going to come in like this. I'm dividing where I come in. And what I'm dividing is straight between his elbow and his hand, right where his hand begins and that small point of that wrist. So I come in here, he has control, I divide it in half. My cutting bone is coming up and down, and I drop this elbow. When I drop this elbow, this hand comes around, once the grip's broke, and secure. So what I'm trying to keep here is positive control. I don't want to have him come through and I lose everything and then try to reestablish that grip. As soon as I pop that grip, divide it in half, come in, I rotate my hand quickly to the outside. So I'm establishing wrist control. So one more time. Here, he's got a 2-on-1. I come in, divide it in half. My cutting bone is up and down. I come in, straight here, taking a drink, straight on, and resting. Again. He's here, I come in, cut it in half, down, out, resting. The first takedown we're going to focus on in your Journeyman level 1 is a classic catch-as-catch-can arm drag into an inside single and run in the pipe. So it's going to be a little different from your typical amateur style, and it starts off with the arm drag. Your arm drag here is going to be a little different. We'll do the amateur style first. So I come in, I have wrist control, I step, my head is on. Your classic amateur drag is going to take this hand over here to this side of your body crossways. I'm dragging, I step with the outside leg. So for my go behind, what I'm doing on my old school drag here, the old catch drag, is I'm taking this wrist here and I'm posting my hand, my arm here straight so the bone is supporting now. My head comes on. When I grab his elbow instead of his arm, I'm trying to hyperextend his elbow, which is going to cause this foot to step. When that foot steps, I step. So I'm here, I pull, boom, to start to work my inside single. Okay guys, so back to run the pipe off that classic catch-as-catch-can arm drag. What I'm doing again is I'm coming in, getting that wrist control here, and I'm locking my arm out straight. After that, I'm getting my head on, and I'm pulling here straight at the elbow to hyperextend his elbow. When I pull, he steps, I step. So this is my penetration step for my inside single. If you notice, my head is on the outside, a little bit different from your typical amateur running the pipe takedown. So I got to keep my head close to his body. When I come in here, I step one more time, and I'm squatting. This arm is going to hook at the knee, and I'm pulling away. I want to pull away up in. If I pull straight up, Jack can drive down, and I'm fighting too hard. It's going to be really hard for a heavyweight. So when I come in here and hook, I want to pull away and up. Now, if you'll notice my grip change here, the outside hand comes under, grabs my shoulder here, the other hand switches, comes around and grabs tight onto the outside of his hip close to his butt here. When I get to this position, I'm going to pull my legs together nice and tight, and from here I'm just going to pivot, 1, 2, and drop down. I'm in to this position right here. This is going to be your finish. The second takedown that we're going to focus in Journeyman Level 1 is the double. I want you guys to get into the habit of starting with the single and then switching to your double. Don't try and start with your double just yet and come back to the single. You're going to have a lot of trouble with that. So the easiest way for me to hit my double is starting with the single. I get a little trouble, he starts countering, and I switch straight into my double. And I'm going to show you one of the things that's going to tell you right away it's time to hit that double. A little alarm's going to go off, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So I'm here, I come in, I got wrist control, my arm's straight. I pull at the elbow to hyperextend his arm, step, step, squat. I pull the leg away up into me. Come under, grab my shoulder, this arm snakes around to here. Now when I get to this position, Jack drives his foot straight down. Now look, his feet are square. This is what I was talking about. I see his feet square up. I know now I need to switch to my double leg. This hand is going to stay in place. I step with my left leg and drop. The reason I'm dropping, this shoulder has got to get below his hip. I got to get some penetration here. So the step is coming here, and I'm coming in tight. My head is tight to his body, and I'm actually going to start looking 45 degrees, because that's where I want to take him on this take. Now it's going to be really hard for him to stop me if I'm driving hard 45 degrees. So I've dropped down here, I've cut it here, behind this leg. This hand right here is going to cut the knee. My cutting bone is actually going to come straight across and chop. When I chop, I'm going to start driving and stepping with my right leg. And you'll notice when I step with my right leg, I'm going to do my best to step right here. This is what I'm aiming for. You want to step here to kind of block his foot from doing any type of counter when you step. And I'm actually trying to start moving in 45 degrees when I do that. So I'm here. I started, my penetration has already started. I'm going here. This hand drops, cuts. As soon as I cut, I'm looking 45 degrees, and I'm going to step. When I step, we're going. So I come up, step, 45, straight in for the takedown. The first takedown counter we're going to get in today is your basic sprawl. The things that we want to focus on our sprawl is squaring your hips up with your opponent, getting your hips as low as possible, and laces down. When I say laces down, when I sprawl out, my feet are like this. So if he drives me, I'm just sliding backwards. If I post my feet up with the soles down here, or even here, he pushes me back up, he's got my legs. Okay? So, here we are. I'm here, my elbows are in, my head's up, got a good wrestling stance. Jack shoots, I sprawl out. Hips down quick, and I'm going laces down as hard as I can. I'm forcing, almost like I'm flexing my calves back there. My hips are low, and I'm trying to get weight, I'm shoving weight straight in here on the bottom of Jack's neck. So I'm here, heavy. Now, if you look at his base, he's still got a good base right here. I want to stretch this out a little bit. So I'm going to come here and pull. So when I pull, I stretch him out a little bit. As soon as I stretch that, I'm coming through here. I'm going to suck this knee up, pivot on it, come around to here. Back to my top referee position. So let's go through it again. Got a good stance. Jack shoots, hips down, places down, quick, all the way down. All right? I don't want to come in on a body lock here. He's going to dump me, and he can submit me really easy. So I'm keeping my elbows on the outside here. This arm comes here, back of the tricep. I come under. I want to break his base down. I snap him forward a little bit. Get ready to cut the corner. Bring this knee in because I'm going to pivot on it. I come through. Pivot, straight in top, to top referee. The second takedown counter we want to focus on in Journeyman 2 is just a whizzer, pull, and kick away to get him off your leg. So Coach Potenza comes in for a head in, for an outside single with his head in. So he comes outside single, he gets on my leg, pulls it up, he's got my leg. So from here, what I'm really focused on first is getting heavy on his head. When I push down on his head, I'm trying to get his chin to his chest as quick as possible. And you notice my elbow is turning 90 degrees out along with his spine. I don't want to be sitting here trying to do a press down. I want to get here and get as much muscle and weight down as I can at 90 degrees. From here, this hand is going to come high onto his armpit and get in here and put my fist to my chest. And I'm going to stay tight. Now I'm going to switch directions the way I'm pushing on his head. Right now I'm pushing down, but I need to lift up with my right arm to pull him off this leg. So instead of pushing down, I'm going to start pushing away. So my hand's going to switch from 90 degrees here to 90 degrees here. So I start pushing away, I pull up, I'm lifting him off that leg, I take that leg, and I kick it back to get it away from him. From there, I'm going to push out, or switch to a different clinch or time. Now we're going to start working on the ground. We're going to look at ground-based wrestling, and this is going to be your referee position. And in Journeyman 1, we're focusing on a low defense. We're still working at that scholastic level wrestling, building up your wrestling skills and fundamentals, because we don't want to throw you straight into a lot of pro wrestling stuff. You guys really, it's important that we understand and practice a lot of good wrestling fundamentals and basic stuff before we move on and don't just go out slapping 900 submissions. We want to be able to be effective and control our opponent and dominate him from top to bottom. So when I'm out here in my low defense, it's important. My weight is back and centered over my hips. I'm back here like this. I'm high, my chest is out. My arms are straight. It's important. My fingers are going to be closed back. I don't want my fingers out here like I might in scholastic wrestling or freestyle Olympic. I want to close my fingers because in catch, there's any submission goes. So this is not a regular grappling tournament. They can grab my fingers and break them and do whatever they want. Step on them, put their knee on my hand, grab my fingers, break them, you name it. So I'm going to keep my fingers kind of like a bear claw. I'm closing my fingers down like that, and I'm putting them straight in front of my knees. My arms are straight, and I'm turning them this way. If I turn my arms this way, it's more likely for me to get injured when they come in and try to attack here. If somebody attacks me here, that's fine. I'm going to keep them this way and keep my weight back. So even if I do get arm chopped, my weight is still over my hips, because they're always going to be trying to drive you this way to break you down at first, typically from here, or this way. So I want to keep these arms straight and strong, like this, sitting back. Now to see it from the side, this way, my weight is back. If you guys are comfortable getting back between your heels, that's fine too. I got old knees, so I sit on my heels a little bit more, and I put my hands here like this. My chest is out, my head is up, my eyes are up, my chin is down. So I'm here like this, because we have to remember we're involving more submissions now. This isn't scholastic where there's no submissions. Everything goes here. There's no illegal pins, submissions, or throws. So I need to be aware of that when I'm in these positions, and I'm keeping my chin down, and I'm looking up. So my chest is out, my weight's back, my eyes are up, and my chin is down. And this is your low defense. A really important thing we want to focus on when we're looking at referee bottom position is coming to base. It's critical when you get broken down that you understand how to get back up and get back up right to a good low defense. So if I've been broken down, and I'm down here all the way like this, I don't want to take my hands and start pushing it like this. This is a common mistake that you'll see a lot. And young guys just learn how to wrestle. They'll try and push themselves this way, and they're trying to muscle everything, and they're going to get stuck here forever, or get themselves in a bad situation, or they're getting tilted or submitted. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull my knee up to one side. So I'm here like this, and I bring my knee up, and I'm actually going to touch my knee to my elbow. So from this side, I'm here like this. I bring my knee up, and I touch on my elbow. So I'm actually closing that down because I want to avoid them putting a hook in and getting a leg right on me. So straight on, I'm here. I pull this knee up. Once that knee is all the way up and it's touching my elbow, I'm going to push off of this side and transfer my weight over to that side of my body. So I'm here and I push this way. Not pushing back against my opponent, I'm pushing to the side. Now all my weight is centered here on the left side. From here, I'm bringing my right knee up and coming back to my position. Now we're going to come to base from a bottom referee position with an opponent at rear side control. So I'm down. I've been broken down. Coach Patenza's got me all the way down here. He's working his side control. He's got me cross-faced here tight. My head is jammed. What I'm doing, just like I said, I'm pulling this arm back a little bit. my knee comes up to my elbow here on the side. This hand is going to drive me this way. If I push off, my weight is all on this side now. I'm not pushing against him. If you notice, if he's normally driving into me from that side, it actually makes it even easier for me to push my weight over this side. The next thing that's going to happen is my right knee is going to come up inside, push out to a base. My hands come up, my head and eyes are up, my chin is down. And I'm back to my wrestling position. Here I can work where I need to, my sit-outs and my counters. Okay, so one more time. And down here, Coach Patin's got me broken down. He's cross-facing the crap out of me. I'm stuck. I'm pulling this arm down because my elbow's got to touch my knee. So I pull down, bring my knee up, pushing off this hand, going this way. Push off, straight over this side. All my weight's on this side. Next thing I do is I bring my knee up inside, post it back out for a good strong base. I'm going to push my weight back on my hips. My eyes are up, my chin's down, my chest is out. Now we're going to focus on your top referee position, and Journeyman 1, we're really going to focus on that, again, the basic wrestling fundamental position. So all we're going to focus on is just that basic top position that you would learn at a high school level or collegiate level. So when I come in here, my hand, my outside hand here, is going to come right above his elbow into that soft spot, and I'm clamping down. I'm not going to be being dainty about it. I'm clamping on, I'm holding this elbow to control it. So I come in, attack, make it quick, come down to the wrist, whatever I need to do. But I'm starting here in this position here. This knee is going to be right inside his, pushing in. His foot will sweep a little bit to the back. This foot, I'm not going to put it right between his legs, because the problem here is, again, we're talking about submissions. If I put my leg between his, he looks down through, I'm going to get knee barred. Okay? So I'm going to take my foot a little bit further past, over here to this foot. So it's right here, my knee goes right into his butt. My outside hand on this side is going to come down, across for a tight waist, right across the belly button area. My chin goes right onto the spine, like this, from here, and from here. Now typically, when the hand comes across, as soon as I touch the middle of his stomach here, the referee's going to shout out wrestle. Alright, so again, I'm here. Coach Patin's in a low defense. My hand is here. My knee comes in, pushes to the side here. Foot is all the way across, past his furthest shoe, and tight to his body. My knee is against his rear end. This hand comes across the stomach. My chin is on the spine, and I'm tight. And I'm actually leaning forward a little bit to get a little bit of my weight on him. Now we're going to start working a little bit from that bottom referee position back to that low defense. First thing I want to focus on is a short sit out from a low defense. This is something you have to drill a lot to get comfortable with because it feels kind of awkward the first couple times you do it. So I'm starting off with my low defense. I got a nice strong base, my weight is back, my hands are down, arms are turned straight, my eyes are up, and my chin is down. The first thing I'm going to do is post my hand. So I'm going to go to my left right now. So I'm taking this hand and I'm putting it straight in front of this one. I'm turning it, and I'm putting it straight in front of this hand. I'm going to lock it. I'm locking this arm because I don't want to be sitting here using all tricep. I want to get to this position and let my bones support my weight. So I get here to this. Now, typically I'm going to have a hand on my waist right here, whether it's just sitting inside or he's already on a tight waist. So I'm going to grab that wrist. So imagine a hand around me right now. I grab the wrist here, and I squeeze my elbow in nice and tight to control him and keep him there. From here, I'm going to pull his hand off of me like this, and I'm going to turn and sit out the other way for my short sit-outs. I posted my arm, I'm pulling the hand away, keeping my elbow close to my body. I turn away, I'm going to take the hand and post it to this hip now. Once I post it to this hip, I'm going to turn back, and you'll see in a minute when Coach Patinza demonstrates it, you're going to be back to that tight waist, and now their arm is stuck. From here, if I'm just going to turn back to my normal position for drilling purposes, I'm going to take my hands and return exactly where I started.
So as Coach Bain pointed out earlier, from a low defense, we're going to do an arm roll. So here, he has his arm, a short grip here. He's not reaching too far around for a full tight waist. He just has a short grip right here. Just like he did in the earlier segment, we're going to turn the hand, arms locked out. As I sit, I'm going to sit out, grab his wrist, right? So control his wrist. I sit, spin, I clear the arm, and now I bring it in nice and deep. I come back in. Now I have a nice tight waist position. I'm going to bring my body up. I start to turn my body and look that way. As I do it, I just drop my shoulder, I take over, spin through, hook the head, keep control of this arm the entire time, come through, and cradle him up. Now we're going to get into the switch from referee. So Jack has top referee position here. I'm going to start out by taking my left hand, put it in front of my right hand, turn 90 degrees here. So my knuckles are pointed out 90 degrees to my right. My right leg is going to step out 45 degrees here. I'm going to open my hip, driving my weight back and locking my hip up here. If I turn my leg forward, when he drives in, he's going to bring me back down. I want to keep a nice strong base here by keeping my hip out. So now when he drives his weight, I'm using this to keep everything locked up. As I sit out, I'm going to throw my left leg straight through across this blue line here and clear the arm with my right hand and put my weight back on my opponent here. All my weight's now on him. I'm bridging back as I go. My right arm is going to scoop inside of his leg, catch his hip, keep my weight on his back, and as I bridge back, I'm going to step left foot first and come around to top referee position. And extra switch.
The first escape we're going to focus on our ground-based wrestling is getting up from a low defense. So I'm here, I'm going to get in my good position, my weight's back on my hips, my biceps are forward, my arms are straight to the bone support. I'm actually pushing back a little bit to keep that weight on my hips. My chin is down and my eyes are up. Now from here, the first thing I'm going to do is arch my back and push my chest down. And when I do that, I'm actually going to push back a little bit. So I'm pushing just a tiny bit into my opponent. From here, I'm going to secure his wrist. So picture the wrist coming around this side, the arm coming around, whether it's sitting here on a pry or a tight waist, I'm securing it and I'm clamping down to maintain control of that. From here, I'm throwing up and I'm stepping. Now I'm going to give you a lot of steps here. It's important that you drill all these together till you get comfortable doing it and becomes one fluid motion. But for now, the easiest way to learn for me personally is step by step by step. So first thing again, I'm here, I'm pushing back, biceps forward, chin's down, eyes up, I secure the wrist and drive my chest up and I'm pushing backwards. From here, I'm going to step with this leg the same side as he's controlling my elbow. So I'm here like this. When I step, I'm throwing this arm because he's controlling. So I have the wrist, I step and throw the arm like so. So I'm throwing this up like this to clear this arm on this side. Now if you notice, this step was pretty much 90 degrees. My next step is going to be 45. So I'm going to come out to this side. So I'm here, this arm is up. When I come down, I'm stepping out this side, 45 degrees. This foot comes up, and I step out this way. Now I'm going to align my hips 45 degrees. I don't want my leg to be back here, and I don't want to be square where you can just snap me down. So I'm here, I'm still on this wrist. This foot's going to come in tight here, and I'm going to start pushing my hips out. Most of the time, they're going to lock up with both hands around your waist in this position, and you're going to be stuck doing one of these numbers. I'm going to start pushing my hips out in that same direction. Lining my hips. My weight is still over my hips. I'm pushing out and clearing and stretching him out to get his grip to break. When the grip breaks, my outside hand grabs his wrist and starts putting it in my back pocket. As soon as I've secured that, as soon as it clears and it's in my back pocket, this arm's going to come around. I step, almost like a pivot. I'm stepping back. This hand slashes down across the chest, and we're wrestling. So from this side, I've already stepped up. I've stepped 45 degrees here. I've got the wrist. I step over here to this side, everything aligned, my hips are this direction. I'm pushing down. Once I put it into my back pocket, this hand is coming around to slash across the chest to clear the other arm. My step, this is going to slash straight across his chest, and we're wrestling. Back into that good stance that we were talking about.
The next technique we're going to work on is a punch escape from side control. All right, so I'm on my back here, and Coach Bain's on top. It's really important we keep track of where we're putting our arms. We don't want to just leave our arms dangling out where it could be attacked at any moment. So the safest place from here is going to be across his shoulder here, and just give him a little pressure on his neck or his jaw or whatever, as long as I'm keeping this kind of hidden. If I leave my arm out here for too long, he's going to attack it, and it becomes a big problem, a whole other fight. All right, so I'm going to keep it on this side, lock it in. I'm going to keep my feet close to my backside. I'm going to keep my knees pointed up. It's really important to have good posture with my legs here. I see a lot of guys try to work this too far out or whatever it is. Bring your feet nice and close. get your knees pointed up, everything has a strong posture on your legs. Now when I bridge, I'm gonna bridge up, straight up, I'm gonna take this arm into his hip. As I bridge, I make space, this hand is gonna come through and glue to my chest. So when he comes back down, he's on my fist. So you can see my fist is right here, and he's underneath, right? So I have a good control position. Now I'm gonna bridge again, and when I bridge, I'm gonna step my right leg 90 degrees this way and punch 90 degrees the same direction. So I bridge, and I punch, step, and now I'm back up, and I'm ready to wrestle. The next escape we're going to do is going to be from full mount. Full mount is a tough position to get out of, so it's really important we work good details. Right? So, I'm on my back, Coach Bain is in full mount, or saddle position. From here, I have to have good posture with my legs again, just like we did on the earlier technique. All right, my knees are pointed up, my feet are going to be nice and close to me here. Everything is lined up with my legs. If my feet are too far out again, it's going to be too hard to move anything. All right, so the leverage is really important to have your feet close to the body. So for a first move I have to do from here, I have to break his balance and his posture. So by doing that, I'm going to step my left leg outside of his leg and bridge at the same time. I don't want to put my foot first and let him feel what's coming, or put it too late. It's one motion. So I'm going to bridge him forward and step. My foot blocks his foot here. This is really important. We want to trap his ankle. From here, my cutting bone is going to chop right into his crease of his elbow here. I'm going to pull it right down to my stomach. Everything is nice and tight in here. Then I'm going to take wrist control, pinning everything here. If I don't pin, he can escape real easy. So I'm going to keep control here. Everything's locked in. I'm going to bridge again, belly up. Let's roll. I posture up. My hands never touch the mat. My hands go right to his hip. By posture up, I mean my back is straight. My knees are wide. I never want to come up here and have my knees closed where I can fall over easy. I have a triangle going on with my feet. My feet are real close, like this, and my knees go out. So I have a good straight back. My posture's up, so it makes it a lot more difficult for him to attack me and better for me to attack him.
The next position we're going to work on escaping is from the body scissor. Many of you guys may know that position as the guard, and catch wrestling is referred to as the body scissor. So we're going to try and use as many of the normal terms that we can since we're doing catch wrestling. One thing you need to understand too also is being on your back is a position you need to understand how to fight from, but at the same time you have to avoid being pinned. In freestyle wrestling, the rules are different than amateur folk style. If my shoulders break 90 degrees in touch, I've been pinned. They don't have to keep me there for very long at all. So with freestyle coming from catch wrestling, it's kind of the same idea with the pins. Whether you're trying to do old school catch wrestling work in the pins, or you're just trying to keep somebody controlled on their back. We don't want to be on our back any longer than we need to, whether we're hitting submissions or wrestling off of our back and bridging. We do what we gotta do to get off our back, get to our feet, hit a takedown, and dominate from top position as much as possible. But let's just say I did land on my back. So I'm here, got Coach Potenza in my body scissor. Right now I'm closed, and when I'm in this position, I'm trying to keep my legs tight, and I'm on his floating rib here in the bottom, and I'm kind of squeezing out a little bit to make him uncomfortable. There's no way he should ever be comfortable. I don't care where I'm at. So I'm squeezing here, and I'm squeezing through just a little bit to make him miserable. I'm going to turn off to my side just a little bit so my left shoulder is not on the ground. And I'm only going to be here for a second because right now I'm using all stomach muscle. So I go wrist control. As soon as I have positive control on his wrist, I'm going to open my body scissor and turn the rest of the way so my left shoulder is completely off of the ground. And on my side, I can get a lot more stuff done. This arm right here is going to get pulled straight down, and I'm going to dig here for my arm drag. I'm coming up at the top of the tricep, the base of the shoulder, and I'm ripping it forward. Now if you'll notice, my cutting bone again is coming into play here. My cutting bone is going to trap right in here between his forearm and his bicep, and I'm going to pin that arm straight down tight to the mat. This hand on the outside is going to come over right into his lat and his armpit and hook deep as I can to get a good grip. As soon as this hand makes contact with his lat, this arm's going to come out and post. And as soon as this one posts, my inside leg here is going to swing just enough through to come back in for one hook. From here I'm pulling, and I'm going to continue up to rear mount. And now I'm going to hit a 2-on-1. I can hit either side. I prefer to come through here on the elbow, pull the arm out, and ride him down. The next escape we want to focus on from the body scissor is switching to wrist control and kicking off, getting them away from you, and doing a standing base back to your feet to a good wrestling stance. So we're going to walk through this nice and slow. Again, Coach Potenza is in my body scissor. When I'm crossing my legs, it's important to understand I'm crossing them at as lowest rib possible. And I'm squeezing my legs through to make them a little bit uncomfortable. As soon as I get wrist control, I've transferred positive control from my legs to my wrists, to his wrists. And now I can start moving a little bit better. As soon as I get here, I'm opening my body scissor and getting to my side a little bit to avoid that pin. My knee is going to come inside, straight through, and I'm bringing it up through 45 degrees to get 1 foot on. As soon as 1 foot hits, I'm going to keep my shoulders off the ground, curl up to this side, and push off and away. From here, I'm coming up and with standing base, straight through the hole, and I'm resting. In the previous technique, we talked about standing base. I want to go over that with you guys a little bit so you understand what I'm talking about. It's a pretty simple technique for getting off your back and getting back into the match pretty quick. So if we go off the technique I just did, and you saw me kick Coach Potenza off, as soon as I come up, I'm going to come up on the side that I'm already leaning towards so I can save some time here. I'm leaning towards my right, so I'm going to post back with my right hand. My left foot's down on the mat. And I'm bringing this left hand up here on my elbow. If I need to defend, I can. I'm just going to keep it here for now. He's plenty far away from me if I did this technique right. So I'm here. I'm going to post up and bring this leg through like I'm threading the needle through the hole. So I'm here. This leg comes up, and I back up, trying to get back into a really good wrestling stance. Now I'm back in the match. The next section we're going to get into is your breakdowns, tilts, rides, and pins. And we're focusing on some good fundamentals of wrestling here to get you going and get you off to the right start. So the first thing we're going to start out with is proper positioning on this. So Jack is in a low defense. Now it's important to understand a lot of times in catch wrestling, we come in a top referee with a little bit more of a knee block position out here like this, where I'm driving in. And you don't want to do a tight waist from here because what we're going to hit is a tight waist arm chop. And that's the reason I'm saying it. If I come tight waist on Jack here, he can arm roll me really easy because right now I'm perpendicular. So I want to make sure that I'm back here in line with him whenever I do a tight waist. So I'm here in my typical top referee position, my head's down, and I'm coming in for my tight waist. Now if he tries to arm roll me, I can walk around or actually try to break him down when he's in the middle of it. So I'm here, so what I'm going to do is start off with just the arm chop. When I come with the arm chop, guys, my cutting bone is coming right in here between the bicep and the forearm, and I'm hitting here and sucking this arm up. At the same time, I'm pulling him into me with this tight waist here to keep his body locked into me. This back knee here is going to drive right into his tailbone, and I'm going to turn and force my chest and head down to drive him down, and we're going to push him off 45 degrees that way. He's 90 right now. We're going to shove him down 45. So I'm here. Jack's in a good low defense. I come in, tight waist around the belly button. My arm chops in, my knee drives. We go 45. From here, I'm going to switch to my crab ride. Your crab ride is your first ride in Journeyman level 1. So what I'm doing here, look at my left leg. I step 1, step inside, and now I'm here. My knees are below his hips, and my feet are below his knees. And to make this work, I got to spread my feet out and make him uncomfortable by jamming him out so he can't get back to his base and get back up. From here, we're going to work our half Nelson. So I stay in this position for just a second. I'm going to take his head with this hand and shove it down, and I'm pushing it this way. I don't want to push it straight down. The neck is really strong pulling back this way, but not so strong going this way. So if I can, I'll push his head to the side and down that way. So when I come in here, I'm coming up over, and I want to get my hands like a hook as far across his neck as possible, and my elbow as close to his elbow as possible to compromise his shoulder. So I'm here to push, the elbow comes out here, and I'm going to dismount. When I dismount, I can switch to a leg ride here with my shin right into the back of his hamstring to make that painful. And then I'll step off a little bit further, and if you notice, just come to the middle here. If you notice how I'm driving here, I'm still going to keep driving. So whichever way he's faced is always 90. So my 45 is now over this way. If I'm here like this, I'm going to start sucking his head in. And I have this knot here, and I'm pulling his head into my body as I wrench over with my elbow because I want to tighten this down. As I tighten it down, I'm going to align myself to go 45, and then drive, and finish with live toes. One thing I want to be sure to emphasize when we talk about the half Nelson is to make sure that you understand we don't want to hit a half Nelson if somebody's on their knees unless we're perpendicular to their body. So by perpendicular, I mean here as a T, or if he's 90, and we're talking about 4 right angles here, he's 90-degree angle, I'm 90-degree angle this way. If I come in from back here behind him and I come in with a half Nelson here, all he has to do is clamp his elbow down, sit back, and arm roll it. And he's got me. So back up. But if I come out to the side here, and I come out perpendicular, and I align my body in this direction here, and shove the head down, it's not going to work. I'm shutting him down. So typically, you're going to work your half Nelson off of a broken down opponent. If you do like to work your half Nelson from this position, there's other ways to add to it, where if you come in, you get perpendicular, shove the head here, and you can do it with a crotch lift. We're going to go here, you come over. But the most important thing to understand is you got to get perpendicular if they're on their knees. And that's it.
Now we're going to get into a quarter Nelson. Jackson turtle position. When I start my quarter Nelson, first thing I want to do is stuff his head down here. My elbow is going to follow this line right here. I'm going to follow 90 degrees from where I'm sitting here. My elbow has to stay forward. That's going to help me drive his head down under his armpit. My other hand is going to come up underneath here. When it comes under, the closer I get to his elbow in the lower part of his bicep here, the more his arm's going to compromise his shoulder. It's going to change the position, not make it really uncomfortable for him. So when I get here, I stuff this down, elbow's 90 degrees, I lock it, I lift. I start to stuff his head under his armpit, I get up on my toes. Once I'm on my toes, I'm going to press his head under his armpit, and I'm going to step right leg first as I'm going to my right. So I stuff right leg, left leg, come through, and cradle him up here with side control with live toes. Now we're going to get into the catch 9 drill. The catch 9 drill is a position drill designed for body positioning, control, and scrambling. Okay, so Coach Bain is on his back. We started out in a modified side control. Modified side control, I'm going to bring his arm up nice and high, my knee comes forward, my other knee's off the ground. All my weight is on my partner right here. Okay, so we're going live toes like we did earlier. I'm not keeping anything low on the mat, everything should be riding into him, he should be uncomfortable. I'm going to cross face with this side. My other arm, I'm going to use my cutting bone, dig into the shoulder or the bicep here. Okay, so the bottom of my forearm is going to dig in control of his other arm. From here, I'm going to switch off into head and arm. I scoop his head, I switch my hips, and again, just my feet are on the mat. I'm pulling him up, I'm digging all my weight into his ribs. It should be really uncomfortable at this point. From here, I'm going to push his arm across his chest. I'm going to keep positive control again. All my weight is following him down. Here, staying heavy on him. Drive my hip across his face, my hands come into his hips, my head goes to his ribs, and now I have a good solid north-south control. Everything is on him, he should be again carrying all my weight. From here, his legs go straight, I'm going to swing around to his shin ride. When I swing, all my weight stays on his chest, and I spin to here, to my shin ride. For my shin ride, my shins are riding directly across his quads here, my knees are hovering above his hips, and my feet are together between his legs here. So if I needed to go to full mount, I could drive forward to full mount. If I wanted to disengage or stand up, that's easy to do. Or I could just put all the weight on him here and keep him uncomfortable. From here, he's going to try and push back, and he's going to put me into his body scissor or my Saturday night ride from here. From Saturday night ride, I'm going to keep pressure on him again. I'm not staying relaxed here. Eyes on the target, my posture straight. I'm pushing his hips down, making him uncomfortable. He shouldn't be thinking about how to attack me or how to escape from here. He should be thinking about why is it hurting so much. So here I'm putting pressure on him, I'm stacking him up a little bit, making him uncomfortable. I'm going to dig my elbows in. As soon as I feel his legs break apart,
I'm gonna scoop my hand inside. If I'm gonna pass on this side, my right hand's gonna scoop inside here, palm up. This is really important. We don't wanna switch our hands around. Palm goes up, I'm gonna grab an S grip. My elbow goes center of my chest, I bring his knee right in. You can see immediately it locks his hip up. The hip, it works exactly like a shoulder does, right? Shoulder locks go this way, hip locks, same, they go this way, right? So I have control on him, I'm locking him up. By torquing his leg here and pulling his leg that way, his hip starts to rotate. It helps me set him up for his roll. So I'm gonna lock in nice and tight, I twist, I put him on his belly, I slide back. Once I'm back here, I want his leg up, I don't want it back here just yet. I want his leg this way. This cutting bone is coming straight into me here, and I roll and bring myself up for my calf crush. All right, so this is going like this way here. So I'm sliding in, up, and calf crush. From my calf crush, I'm gonna crawl up, keeping his leg trapped here to back control, and I switch cross face into side control. Again, I'm blocking him here on this side. I have a good cross face here. From my cross face side control, I'm gonna block his hip on this side. I'm gonna take this other hand out, block the other hip, and spin again north-south. All my weight is on top hand again, north-south. From here, I'm gonna spin again. This hand comes across, blocks the hip. Weight is on his back. Rear shin ride. From a rear shin ride, he's gonna back up to get to his defensive position. I'm gonna slide out, I'm gonna hook my foot behind here. And when I hook my foot, let's just turn this way a little bit, this way here. Good. From here, when I hook his foot on my leg here, I'm gonna bring my leg straight, pull his leg this way, and sit back on it. So now I have his ankle trapped between my calf and my hamstring here. This hand is gonna come through, block the leg so he can't go forward, grab his toes and bring his toes right toward his butt. And this is called ball and chain. And that's the final step, and you catch 9 position drill. Now we're going to get into Saturday Night Ride, domination, and submission chains. First thing we need to talk about is posture. When we're in the Saturday Night Ride, we need to have a good solid base, good posture, and everything has to line up correctly. If my knees are too tight, or my feet are too far forward or back, or anything's out of line, it's going to change everything dramatically. So I want my knees nice and wide, my feet will be close together here. So we talked about this earlier a little bit, we can cover a little more detail right now. So I'm making a perfect triangle, just following along the same kind of lines we have here with my feet and knees, right? So we have a nice wide triangle base here. My back is straight, my shoulders are square. If I turn my body and start leaning and breaking my balance and posture, my shoulders come in front of my hips and knees, it starts to open up attacks for the guy in the bottom. So if I'm here, I'll face this way for a second. My back is straight, my chest is square, my hands should be close to me and on my opponent's hips. Everything is strong here. Once I start twisting and bending and leaning forward, I'm inviting a submission attack or escape from the bottom guy. So we want to make sure to keep everything nice and strong and square. The rule we have is going to be 3 in or 3 out. So that means my 2 arms from my head all have to be inside my opponent's legs, or all 3 have to be outside my opponent's legs. Anytime somebody has control of any two of those parts, whether it's this arm in my head, this arm in my head, whatever, then I'm in trouble. Still in a fight, in a defensive kind of mode. If I have 3 in, I can attack a lot easier. If I have 3 out, I can escape a lot easier. So it's really important we have that little fine details down of having a good posture, back straight, knees wide, everything, eyes are always on target. We don't want to be hanging out and looking around and sticking our head out where it shouldn't be. We should be focused on exactly what we're doing here. Everything is tight, postured up straight, and we have a good strong balance. So now we're going to talk about passing the opponent's legs. So Coach Ben is on his back here, and we're going to start this out just like we did what we just talked about in the posture control position. My hips are square, my eyes are on target, my knees are wide, my feet are close. My back is straight. I have everything lined up where it needs to be. Nothing is twisting, leaning, or giving him opportunity for anything. He shouldn't be comfortable here. My hands are on his hips. I'm going to push my weight down on his hips. He should feel uncomfortable right away when I start pressing his hips down. My elbow is going to come inside of his knees and inside of his thighs here and grind into his femoral arteries here. Once I start pressuring, I can kind of grind it around a little bit, make him uncomfortable, and whichever side I want to pass, that's the side I want to push the knee down. So if I'm going to go to my left, I'm going to push my left elbow to the mat. And you can see it's a painful position. His hip automatically comes up. I'm grinding that elbow into him here. From here, I'm going to replace my elbow with my knee. My shin is going to slide straight across the inside of his leg here. So everything's locked in nice and tight. I slide my leg across here. I'm going to scoop under his head. My chest hits his chest. I'm going to back step with my right leg, scoot out to side control, block his hip, and again we go live toes. Your next pass for Journeyman level 1 is going to be the back crawl. Back crawl is an excellent way to pass. The problem some people have with it are a couple of minor details that need to be addressed. Coach Bain is on his back here. And again, I'm in the standing night ride, which means I'm in control of the position. I don't want to automatically assume that I'm in trouble because his legs are around me. That's definitely not the case. As long as I'm in control of the position, I'm controlling his hips, controlling his knees, and controlling my posture. That's really important. Back is straight, shoulders square, eyes are on target, knees are wide, feet are close. Everything starts like we did in the last one. Here, I start to control from low by pushing his hips down, digging my elbows into his legs, making him uncomfortable. I don't want him thinking how to attack or escape from here. I want him to think, again, how come it's becoming so painful from this position? So everything should be really just grinding and making him uncomfortable. I'm going to base up, and I'm going to block his far shoulder with this hand. I don't want to reach and leave my arm here where I'm vulnerable for an attack or arm bar or whatever it may be. I want to bring his hip up with me and break his center line. All right, so as I go, I'm going to bring my hand across and drive my hip at the same time here. I start to bring him up. When I do this, I want to break his center line with his neck and his head too, so this is going to push everything this way. So I start to immediately change the position of his posture. Once the center line is broken, it's going to make it a lot easier for me to move this guy. So his body line is on the straight center line we have here. You see the 45 degree that goes that way in that blue line. We're going to follow that 45 degree out. Breaking his posture, now you see his head goes 45 degrees this direction, and I'm going to go 45 degrees that direction. This arm will be the last thing to move, but when it moves, it's got to move fast so I don't get caught up in an arm bar. So from here, I just back crawl forward. I get up on my toes, I just crawl right over him here, follow that line, I hook his leg, and step up here. Once I hook, there's a couple of different ways we can finish this. I can bring my fist to my chest and frame it, stretch here, 2-on-1 here, or if I lose it altogether, it may happen, we lose the leg, just pin your knee to the floor and spin. Cross face, and now you're back into your side control, just like we were from our catch 9 drill. Leg attacks from the Saturday night ride. So Coach Bain's on his back again here, and he's got his legs around me, so I'm in the Saturday night ride. And like we said earlier, this is not a dominant position for him by any means. We have a lot of attacks we can work from here, and we want to work on the lower half of the body. It's the easiest to attack from here. So for right now, the first one we're going to work on is going to be Achilles lock. And Achilles lock has a couple of small details that a lot of people miss at the beginner level. So it takes some fine tuning. So when you guys drill this stuff at home, go over it again and again and work with your partner. Let your partner tell you if you're off by this much, a little high, a little low. It's going to make a big difference. All right, first thing we need to do is, again, control the hips, good posture, knees wide, feet close, shoulders square, eyes on target. Everything has to be good posture. Without a good posture, we're in a totally different defensive fight, right? I want to be an offensive. So here, I bring my elbows in again, rub into his legs here, make him uncomfortable. I get the legs to break apart. As soon as his legs break apart, I'm going to step my right leg up. When I step this right leg up, my foot is going to stay behind. I'll show you on the left side just so you see what I'm talking about. My foot is going to stay behind his hip here, behind his backside here, and my knee is going to drive forward, which is going to expose the hip and leg here. Okay, so when I bring the leg up, I drive my hip forward. By driving the hip forward, that's going to bring his whole leg forward. If I go from here and try to reach back, I'm in a bad position. But by driving my hip forward here, I start to lock his hip, and it brings his leg right to me. This hand, again, the cutting bone right here, is going to scoop right under his Achilles tendon. Here, drive this forward. This is going to push just a little bit this way. This is going to scoop right at the top of his wrestling shoe here. My cutting bone digs in. It's really important we get that little bit of detail right there. If you go too high up, you're going to lose it. So I dig in, my fist goes to my chest. From here, I can frame, put my fist on top and lock it, or you can go fist to fist here. This is fine, this is fine. Personally, I like this one a little better, a little tighter, but your fist has to be up. I don't want the flat part of my arm on the back of his leg here. This is too flat or wide an area, doesn't cause enough pain. I want to dig in and get that cutting bone grinding through. From here, my foot here is going to windshield wiper. It's going to kick my foot together like that. Just windshield wiper in, I'm going to fall onto my left hip. My fist never leaves the center of my chest here. You can see with the X on my shirt, my fist is on that X. I lock it up, I windshield wiper this foot in, and just sit back. When I sit, I pull him with me, and I step right over his leg. So I sat back, I pulled everything up with me here. The fist is still in the center of that X on my shirt. I'm locked up. This leg steps over his leg. I want his leg to bend in this way. I don't want his leg straight. So I'm just gonna bend his leg in. This foot controls that leg and helps use that for a kickstand so he can't roll out. I want to stop him and shut it down there and protect my own foot in the process. So I'm all locked up here. Once I have my position, all I can do is stay on my shoulder and hip and stretch and look at the back wall. And there's your ankle lock. From here, the Achilles lock, sometimes it's gonna fail. You might get a little bit too high up on it, and you start stretching and you lose position on it, and the hand will go from your chest down to your belly here. Happens a lot, especially at beginner level leg locks. So I start stretching, and my hand winds up down here, and I'm trying to fight with this Achilles lock. I'm not getting it. The bottom hand, I'm gonna use my cutting bone. My thumb is going that way. I'm gonna cut right up under his calf here. I'm gonna push. And you can see Coach Bain's calf muscles kind of bunch up this way as I do it. Grab the back of my fist here. I'm gonna push up and drive down to the mat here. And that's your calf crush. So it's a really nasty combination. So you go for your ankle lock here, you try and get your Achilles. You might get it, you might not. But if you miss it, you don't get it right away. Bottom hand punches through. As it punches through, your thumb is gonna turn this way, right? So really important. My palm is facing me, my thumb is pointing out. And when I push, I have to see his calf muscle bunch up. If it's just flat here, it's not enough, it's not gonna work. So I wanna push this all the way up, get that bulging up here, thumb goes that way, and I'm not just pulling sideways, I'm pulling sideways and down, using that cutting bone up, sideways and down, and there's your calf crush. The last submission from Saturday Night Ride for Journeyman Level 1 is going to be a straight knee bar. So Coach Bain's going to be on his back. And again, I have the position here, same posture for the Saturday Night Ride we had earlier. Our feet are close, our knees are wide, shoulders square, eyes on target. Everything is where it's supposed to be as far as posture goes. Same entry as we did for the Achilles lock. I'm going to put my elbows in, bring his legs apart, bring my leg up. And again here, this foot is staying back. It's not coming way up here where you can grab a hold of it and start working my leg. I'm keeping it safe. I drive my head forward, but now instead of coming over the top like we did for the Achilles, I come underneath it. Really important part right here is that we catch under his leg high up here. I'm not digging under here where I'm setting myself up for a triangle. I'm going to drive my hip forward to make him kind of bring his knee in this way. I'm going to scoop under the Achilles tendon with my elbow here, and there's a few different ways we can get into knee bars from here, but for this level, all we're going to do is take this hand, my left hand is going to monitor his other leg, I'm going to push down to his other leg, I'm going to hook up here, stand up, I'm going to step and about face right here. Once I step and face this direction, my feet come together, I keep his leg straight up, and slide down like I'm sliding down a fireman's pole, sit on his hip, and I fall to my side. Once I fall to my side here, I'm going to cross my ankles and bring him as close to his butt as I possibly can. You can go with a baseball grip from here to control his ankle, but this is not a very strong grip. He's got a very powerful leg, so he starts to bend his leg from here. It's going to be hard for me to hold on to this. But if his leg winds up sideways to me and I need to control it, get a baseball grip and turn it. Bring his toes toward your nose. Once you get this lined up, now we can switch off and bring us to the outside here. I'm going to scoop around here, hug everything nice and tight. My knees will squeeze together here. If your knees are loose and wide, it's going to give him room to move and escape. So my ankles are crossed, feet are close, my knees are nice and tight, I hang out to that leg, and again, once I have position here, I just stretch, nice and slow, stretch back. So the motion is not going to be this way, it's just a straight stretch like this. And you can see how far my body can bend. Obviously his leg won't go as far. So I get my hook, lock it in tight, and I just stretch just a little bit. And there's your knee bar. So for Journeyman Level 1, we have 3 mount attacks. We're going to put them together in a series for you right now. So the first one we're going to do, Coach Bain's on his back here. First one is going to be a top wrist lock. A top wrist lock is a little bit different on a full mount attack than it would be from side control. All right, there's always a risk of being bridge and rolled, and there's always a risk of bringing his arm too high up where it's going to be kind of flexible and easy to move. Okay, so first thing I want to do is go 2-on-1. 2 hands are going to grip onto his wrist here. I'm going to push this down, put all my weight down on it, get his wrist to pin. I need this bent like an L. Okay, once I get positioned here, I have a full thumb grip. I'm not putting my thumb up here. My thumb is going around his wrist. My elbow is going to grind straight down here. Again, breaking his posture, kind of changing center line a little bit. My other hand is going to slide underneath and grab onto my wrist here. Again, it's a full thumb grip on both hands. I'm not keeping one on top. Everything's locked up here. For the mechanics of this to work, I need his elbow to come down toward his hip. If I leave it up here, you can see how far his shoulder will bend. It naturally goes that way. It's going to be real easy for him to defend it. So I'm going to pull his elbow all the way down to his hip and then lift. And you can see the difference. As I bring his elbow down toward his hip, it just changes everything. And all the slack is taken out of his shoulder muscles and it gets tighter a lot quicker. There's a couple little things we got to worry about as far as being rolled. So on a bigger, stronger guy, it's not a bad idea to get a grapevine on the far side. So I'm going to hook my foot inside here. You can see that. We'll come back around for a second with the camera. We're going to hook our leg inside for a grapevine on this side. That's going to help. And I'm going to post my head on the far side here for extra balance. So in essence, I'm using my head like a kickstand. I get control here, I lock up, and I pull his elbow down and lift. All right, that's going to help me keep my base and my balance. So again, from here, I control it, 2-on-1. I push it down, elbow to the mat, full thumb grip, come underneath, get a grapevine on the far side, post your head, pull, and lift. That's going to be a top wrist lock. From here, we're going to scoop right underneath his head, and I'm going to go into my fist choke. Fist choke, I'm going to make a fist here, put this right in the side of his neck here, elbows on the mat. I'm going to drive my weight down on him. This hand is going to lock up, and this hand is going to push forward like this. The lock position, I just roll my knuckles in, and I squeeze this side this way, and this side that way. So get kind of a scissoring motion going on. So I lock in here and squeeze. From my fist choke, we're going to go right to the punch choke. I'm sorry, from the punch choke, right to the fist choke. This hand's going to slide right up on top here, on top of this trachea, right in the center of my chest. Same grip, and I'm just going to kind of sprawl down and squeeze. When I sprawl and squeeze, this fist is going down under my body weight, and this one's kind of lifted up just a little bit this way. So we went here, we punched through the side of the neck, slid over the top, center of the chest, and squeezed. And those are your 3 submissions for Journeyman Level 1. For Journeyman Level 1, we have 3 submissions for side control. Coach Bain's on his back. And often when I take side control, I like to scoop the head and have control here. But for this series, we're going to keep the hand on the outside here. My elbows are digging into him here. I have good control. First submission is going to be a top wrist lock. When I set my top wrist lock, I'm going to dig my elbow into his jaw to create a reaction. I want him to try and push away and make some space. Here, once he gives me that reaction, I come inside of his wrist, push forward, and pin it to the mat. I have a full thumb grip here. My elbow is pushing into his head. I'm pushing his head that way to break his posture a little bit. This hand's going to scoop underneath. Again, full thumb grip. I'm wrapping my hands around. I'm not putting my thumbs up like this. Full thumb grip. Once I have it locked up, I'm going to pull everything down to his hip and lift just his elbow up. And that's your top wrist lock from side control. From here, if he pushes forward to extend to try to escape, I stay with him. As I stay with him, I'm going to push my hand on this side down, and my left elbow comes up here for my straight arm bar. Okay, so when you go here, don't overextend and bring your body weight too far forward. Just go as far as you need to and then extend for your arm bar. So if he bends his arm here to try and work free from this grip, he bends his arm down that way. My right hand is going to scoop underneath here. My left hand is going to get a full thumb grip here again. Get a full thumb grip, frame it up. Everything is locked up nice and tight. I'm going to jam his thumb right toward his armpit here. I'm going to come up. I'm going to step. Again, since I'm going to my right first, I'm going right leg first, left leg. I'm going to drop my hip, put my knee on his face, twist right there. And that's your double wrist lock. Your last submission series for Journeyman Level 1 is going to be from the rear mount or crab ride. So Coach Bain is down. I have my crab ride again here. First one's going to be a stranglehold. Stranglehold, same as the rear naked choke. I keep my weight on his back. I'm going to slide right through here. My arm comes up, right around his neck. The crook of my elbow should be in line with his Adam's apple. My forearm and bicep are on each side of his carotid arteries. I have a good position control here. This hand, I'm going to grab onto my arm here. I'm not bringing this up across his head this way. I'm going to weave this behind his head here. As I get in position, all I'm going to do is squeeze my arms a little bit and stretch. And there's your first stranglehold. From your stranglehold, we're going to go right to the gag. A gag is like a short choke. I'm going to bring this forearm, my left forearm is going to come back this way, right across his trachea and Adam's apple here. I'm going to take an S grip. My fingers going together. My right elbow is going right to the center of his spine here. So I'm bringing everything nice and tight. I'm going to lock this up here. I'm going to bring my head close and squeeze. And that's my gag. My cutting bone is doing all the work. All I'm doing is locking it up here and just bringing this up just like that. My body weight is bringing everything down, cutting into him here. All right, so we have our strangle, our gag, and then the last one's going to be a cross-face neck crank. A cross-face neck crank, I'm going to regroup here, come back across here, frame it up, and then stretch back this way. So all I want to do is make him look in this direction. My thumb rides right across his jaw. Cutting bone digs into his face, lock it up, and just pull it from ear to his spine. And that's your rear submissions.
That's all the techniques for Journeyman Level 1. We know there's a lot of material in here, so please take your time going through it. Work on the details and the fine points. If you have any questions, concerns, or comments, please email us direct at snakepitusa.com or through our group page on Facebook. Keep an eye out for seminars and upcoming events. We're going to be doing seminars all over the country and a few international, so please keep your eye out for that. We'll be posting them on the website and Facebook as well. We look forward to seeing you on the mat.